I have a network of professionals that I can tap into and say, hey guys, I'm looking for this very, very specific person to fill this very specific role. Do you have any recommendations for me? And I'm actually getting so many qualified candidates that are being referred from people that I know and trust.
What do you do to make key hires successful? Like, how do you think about the first 90 days, maybe first 180 days?
Leaders forget that one of the most important things that you can do to ensure someone's success is make yourself available. Let's be honest, right? So much failure happens because you take risks. And I think when you're in any company, you have to be comfortable with that. If we lead out of fear and we're risk adverse, we're never going to have the growth and impact that we could otherwise. And so I do feel like failure is required to be successful.
Welcome to Whispered Hiring, the podcast where we talk with senior leaders about how they find, vet, attract, and grow world-class go-to-market talent. I'm Josh Hannawinkle, GM at Whispered, and I'm joined by one of the most influential voices in customer success, Kristi Faltorusso. Hi, Kristi.
Hey, how are you?
I'm great. It's good to see you. Kristi's one of the most recognized voices in customer success today. She's an advisor and consultant in customer success, formerly the CEO of ClientSuccess and a VP of CS across multiple high-growth SaaS companies. She's also the creator of a widely used library of CS templates, playbooks, and career resources. And she's also the host of the She's So Sweet podcast, where she spotlights women leading at the highest levels. Kristi blends operator experience, thought leadership, and a genuine passion for elevating the customer success profession. So welcome, Kristi. I'm thrilled to have you on. I'm really looking forward to this conversation.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here and so grateful for the opportunity. Thanks so much.
So you've built, I want to start with, you've built an incredible personal brand around CX expertise, and you've done it while working full time. And I wonder if you have any tips for executives on building their personal brands.
Absolutely. So the first thing is like, we have to remember that social media is where most people are getting their information and where they're going to go find and connect with people and find experts in the space. And so it's a widely still untapped to go and position themselves as experts. So several years back, I was originally using LinkedIn specifically to educate myself, or to at least find folks that were struggling in the same ways that I was, to help learn and grow together. And over the years, I've actually found that my experiences and expertise, and primarily my failures, were interesting enough for folks to want to learn more about. So I started sharing those stories and anecdotes. And so when I think about folks and the benefit that is to them to really grow their personal brand, it is really just selfless giving and sharing of your experiences and your expertise, because there is a world of people out there who are wanting to learn and grow and don't know exactly where to go and find that information. And so social media gives us a great platform to do that and for folks to position themselves as experts in different industries.
Yeah, love that. I love that. Thanks for sharing that. And I'm curious too, just how like your personal brand has helped you with hiring.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So because I'm consistent about sharing so much online, it's allowed me to grow my following specifically on LinkedIn, but also other channels like YouTube and TikTok as well. But if we think about LinkedIn exclusively, I've been able to grow my brand to over 57,000 followers, primarily in the CX space. And honestly, this has become my hiring platform. So unlike a lot of folks who maybe have to go to recruiters or post things out there and pray for people to come in, I do one LinkedIn post and I get hundreds of applicants from one post, right? If I need to back channel or I want to go find somebody, I have a network of professionals that I can tap into and say, hey guys, I'm looking for this very, very specific person to fill this very specific role. Do you have any recommendations for me? And I'm actually getting so many qualified candidates that are being referred from people that I know and trust. So actually creating this platform has been a game changer for me personally when it comes to recruiting.
Yeah, I hear a lot of risk reduction in terms of hiring as a result of what you're saying, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's awesome. So from what I've seen, customer success has similarities and differences across companies. Like you go plug into one company and you can't just grab the playbook and take it. I think like curious if you'd agree with that, and then maybe how you've approached building teams in new environments as a result of the customer success profile kind of shifting company to company.
Well, first of all, you're spot on. Customer success doesn't look the same in any organization. Okay. So for folks that are out there that are listening, there is not a one size fits all. There isn't a one size fits most. And I can assure you that's the case because I have tried to replicate playbooks and frameworks from one company to the next, only to fail miserably. So let me confirm for you that that is not the case, which means the people that you need and the teams that you're building around you are going to look very different, right? The folks that I hire in early stage companies have a different skill and profile than folks that I would hire in a later stage organization, right? There's the idea of, listen, I need folks who could just be team players and who work really well in the gray and are willing to lead out and do whatever it takes versus maybe later stage where the role is more defined and the scope of work is clearer. I've had folks where I'm like, okay, I need a jack of all trades where I need somebody who is very specific and you just do onboarding or you just do CS or you just do support versus somebody who could be more well-versed and lean into different areas. So it really does depend. And I always say that if you ask somebody a question and they don't ask you a million other questions as a follow-on, don't take their advice. And the same applies for hiring, right? I can't hire the same person from job to job, which is why people will ask me, well, Kristi, don't you just take the best players that you've had at one company with you? And as much as I would love to, because I've had some stellar employees and hires in the past, I just can't. The profile's not the same.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that specifically. Like, can you take your best hire at company A and can they still struggle at company B? It sounds like you're saying yes.
Absolutely. In fact, like I have done that. I've brought people along with me from another company and it's just taken them longer to acclimate. Now, it's not to say that people can't be successful. I think if it's in their DNA and they're ambitious and lifetime learners and want to figure things out, they can be successful. But at what cost to the business, right? It could take a lot longer. There could be points of friction that otherwise could be reduced by making a different hire in that moment. So yes, it could work, but ideally, instead of hiring because I like somebody and they were great to work with or they were successful one time, I really do specifically drill down into what do I need right now and hiring somebody who has the exact skills I'm looking for.
Yeah. I've found especially around highly technical products versus less technical products, taking somebody from a less technical product environment and trying to drop them into a highly technical environment can be a good recipe for challenging new hire, even if they were great in a prior role.
Absolutely. And I think there's something to be said about like subject matter expertise as well.
Sure.
I'm somebody who I'm a lot of my professional success early on in my CS career, as well as later on, came from the fact that I was a subject matter expert, right? I can learn the product. I can learn the technical aspects of things. I can learn the organization. But when you have that expertise to lean on, right, you're already that much more credible with your customers and you understand their pains and challenges in a way that you wouldn't otherwise. So sometimes for me, when I even think about hiring, it's what do I want to hire for? And what is the value in having that subject matter or industry expertise?
Yeah, that actually, maybe I'll pivot the conversation based on that comment because I think it's a good one. When you think about role design, are there framework systems that you leverage to get to like consistency on what the role needs to look like before you start the hiring process?
I mean, I definitely try. I don't know that I've ever nailed it and got that 100% right. It's always like some tweaking along the way. And I'm sure a lot of people that I've hired have said, yeah, I came into Kristi's organization day one and the role was X. And by the time I left, the role was Y. Because the business is evolving, right? And I think that's something else to consider is what is the maturity of the organization you're hiring for? Because you're going to need to pivot, right? If you're hiring somebody and you're coming in, let's just say it's a Series A organization, the profile of who you hire at Series A is going to look very different than Series C or D. And if you've got people that you bring into the business, and let's just say it's right on the cusp of some big transformation in the organization, things are going to shift and pivot. So I also try to think about the DNA of who I'm hiring and what is their longevity and what is their ability to kind of grow and scale with the company long term.
Yeah, if you could double click on that. I mean, how do you think about that from, you have somebody that's maybe the perfect fit for today, but you're not sure 12 months, 24 months out. Like, how do you think about that?
Well, I have to think about, again, what does the org design look like? And is this person coming in as an IC? Or are they coming in as a leader? Because that's going to obviously adjust that a bit too. I think you have an IC who probably there's a lot more room to grow and there's a lot more wiggle room. So if they've never done this work before at a future state, they can learn it. They can kind of grow into the role. Sometimes when you hire for a leadership role, you're going to need to be thinking a little bit more future state. Now, you can't look too far out because if I hired a leader who's coming from Salesforce and I hire them in a startup, yes, could they be who I need, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years from now? Absolutely. But what is going to be the pain of that journey before we get there? So it really is, you have to be very flexible and kind of think okay, well, what is the challenge in front of me right now? And sometimes it's about hiring for the specific need of the business rather than the maturation and that journey that you're going to go on with them.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Hey, maybe just one more follow-up on that last
Yeah.
kind of point you were making too. Um, what should leaders consider when like thinking about hiring for today versus hiring for the future, especially around maybe leadership profiles specifically? And, and
So
and how
I'm
much
really, yeah.
how much runway are you looking for somebody to have when you're thinking about a leadership hire?
So in terms of runway, I definitely want somebody who I think 24 to 36 months can be a part of that journey because leadership is hard, right? You're not even going to be impactful in the first 6 months that you're in the role, maybe a little bit here or there, but to really be part of a transformation as a leader, you have to be thinking further out, right? This is not a short-term fix. This isn't a tactical role. It should be strategic in nature. So for me, one of the things that I really drill down into is how gritty is this person? Are they going to be able to navigate the challenges that are going to be in front of us over the next 12, 24, 36 months? Are they going to be able to withstand that while being calm and collected and still be strategic? Are they going to be able to navigate that? Can they be creative? Can they be solutions oriented? So for me, it's like there's something about the grittiness of somebody. Um, Now, listen, I'm going to give you a little cheat code here. So, like, I just recently ran my very first marathon. Okay. And I will say that has transformed my life in so many ways. But why I bring this up is like somebody who can go on a long-term journey and stay focused on a goal despite the good days, the bad days, the days you don't want to do it anymore, the days where everyone in your team resigns and you've got to figure out, well, what are we going to do? Those are the people that I want on that journey. And to me, that is almost a defining quality that will trump anything else. I don't care if you were 110% of quota 5 times in a row. I don't care if you've built the most comprehensive teams in the past. Sometimes for me, it's, are you going to be able to withstand this journey? And it's that type of grittiness that to me is like an inherent trait that I can't teach. You're not going to learn it. You either have it or you don't. And that will be a deciding factor for me, especially if you're in an early stage scale up, right? When you're Series B to Series D, oh man, right? The growth, the pains, the challenges that you're going to have to navigate there. So that's something that I really like. I assess for that.
Yeah, I was going to ask, like, how do you go about testing or assessing for that then, and what gives you the confidence you've got that person at the end of the day?
Oh man, this is why my interview process is not so structured and it's a little bit more flexible than probably most like to go on. For me, I love to have personal conversations with folks, right? And again, I'm gonna use the running analogy just because it's top of mind and it's relevant to me. But like, if somebody told me that in their free time, like they're a long distance runner, or you did an Ironman, or you did something crazy that took you a long time, that was something you built to. Maybe, heck, maybe you went and got your master's as a 40-year-old, right? Like you are somebody who understands the bigger picture, and you're gonna be able to stay the course, right? Good days, bad days, hard friction, and you can still go and achieve that. Those are the types of things that I listen and learn for. And so why my interview process also is a little less prescriptive, because I want to go and I want to hear stories of you where you overcame something big, something hard, and were still successful.
Yeah, how do you think about the balance between like life experience, I guess, on that, and then like career experience? Are you looking for both?
Well, listen, if you have both, that's great. I did the double click into the things that like you might have the personal experience, but like, do I need more of the professional experience at this stage? Right. So if I'm thinking of later stage companies where I've been in, yes, I do need somebody who understands how to present to a board, how to drive KPIs, how to be a business leader over a functional leader, right? What does that actually mean? Do they have the right business acumen? Have they had certain experiences that might be important in certain roles? But all that is only great if the foundation, those foundational traits are in place. So it is the duality of trying to assess somebody as a person and as a professional, and just trying to figure out, well, which of those is going to need to be more elevated, or I'm going to need to lean into more at this stage in our company journey.
Yeah, one of the places I often see, I think to your point, one of the places I often see directors get stuck is like a deep focus on their own function, as opposed to kind of getting outside of their function and being highly cross-functional. Is there a way you test for that during the interview process, or anything that you look for?
Well, absolutely. So one of the things is in my interview process, I'm very methodical about just asking behavioral style questions, meaning I want to hear them tell me stories about when they've done something like that. Now, I tell people, listen, you may not have done this exact specific thing that I'm asking for, but I want to hear stories of where you're going to help me illustrate for you where you've kind of navigated a similar path. And so I'll ask very specific questions that will help me uncover those. For example, can I give you an example of a type of question that I love to ask?
Please.
Okay. I've got a couple, but one of the ones, and I'm looking over here because I did write it down. Tell me about a time where you were in over your head. What did you do in the moment you realized that? And so for me, that's helping me understand, one, that they can identify when they're in too deep, right? And can also design a pathway for them to still go and achieve that outcome. I think it's very easy for people to highlight their successes and to talk about all of the triumphs that they had along the way. But the reality is we're always going to find ourselves navigating uncharted water, right? You're going to do something for the first time and it's going to happen and it's going to happen again and again, right? I don't think anybody in their career can say, I've done everything at least once. It's just not possible. So for me, I love to uncover those types of stories and anecdotes. And I do believe that the framework behind behavioral style questions, where you're asking them to lean into their own stories and expertise, uncovers those things. And if you're listening for the right things, you'll go and you'll be able to kind of find, is this the right person for you at this time?
Yeah, I think for those that are listening to this, definitely getting into real stories of your background as opposed to talking about like how we could potentially
I
design
don't
something.
want hypothetical, right? Like,
Sure.
don't give me the what you think could or should happen. That's fine. Anybody can do that. ChatGPT does that great. I want to know your stories and your personal experiences navigating something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. Are there other questions on that list that you
Oh my God.
that you
My
ask every
question. Oh
time?
my gosh. I do have quite a bit, but I'll give you another one that I actually,
Yeah, give us another favorite.
this is one of my favorites. Okay. What's a failure you're really proud of? Now, I like this because it allows people to lean into the fact that none of us are perfect and we're going to learn by failing. It is inevitable. And especially if you're a leader, I don't know any leader who hasn't failed. In fact, I have way more failures than I do successes, which makes my content, I think, really interesting. But I want somebody to be able to confidently call out and live in the fact that I did something, it was not successful, but here's what I learned and here's what I would do differently in the future. The ability to recognize that, to socialize it, to not point blame, but to own it, I think says a lot about a person's character.
I think back to where we started this conversation too around you know, trying to take playbooks from one company and apply them to another is probably like for me personally one of those stories. Like just grab the playbook, try to replay it and have it not work. And like, yeah, if somebody was to ask me that question, that's probably the first thought that I would have about where to go with that.
Yeah, similarly, right? Because that's almost like my biggest epic fail, because it's just at such a large scale when you try to do that. But everyone's going to have different failure stories. And also, to your point, I want to hear the level of it. Like, did you fail in a massive, big way? Because that's different than if you're like, oh, well, I got on a call with this customer and it didn't go well because I said X, Y. Like, that's not what I'm looking for. I want like the big, epic, almost career changing fail that you navigated and that you realize you came out on the other side and you are a better professional, a better leader, a better person because of it.
Yeah, I always feel like the folks who lean into their failures, those conversations tend to get really genuine and true too, and allows me to like connect with somebody and really feel like,
Right.
yeah, I think I could work with this person. They're humble and they're thoughtful and they understand themselves pretty deeply.
And also, can they take risks? Like, let's be honest, right? So much failure happens because you take risks. And I think when you're in any company, you have to be comfortable with that. If we lead out of fear and we're risk adverse, we're never going to have the growth and impact that we could otherwise. And so I do feel like failure is required to be successful.
Yeah, that's a fantastic insight. I could not agree more. Um, all right, we talked about favorite interview question. What do you do to make key hires successful? Like, how do you think about the first 90 days, maybe first 180 days?
Okay, so one of the things that I like to think is unique to my interview style is one, I'm not overly prescriptive, right? There's not like stage gates. There's not a specific journey that I send my candidates on. Like, yes, maybe there's some frameworks that I have around it and the conversations that we try to have during that process. But when I get towards the end and I know that there's maybe like 2 or 3 candidates that I am most interested in that I think could be a really good fit, one of the things that I do is I allocate a specific interview session that is just for them. It is for them to ask me all of the questions that they need answered before they come and accept an offer. Now, this tells me a lot about them. One, it's going to tell me like, what is their business acumen? How do they think about the organization? Like, do they have that intellectual curiosity, right? Especially as a customer success professional, I'm going to learn a lot about their ability to ask really good and thoughtful questions and how much thought they're putting into like what is this role actually? It's also going to help me have more of an engaging conversation. I get to know what their fears are, what their experience has been. Usually people are asking questions for specific reasons. They're probably asking it because it was a horrible part of their previous work environment, or it was part of their failure, right? Like, I had no resources. So like, what does your resourcing look like? What does the budget look like? Will I be able to get technology? Will I be able to hire people? People that are asking questions are asking for a reason. So I always like to lean into that as a session. Now, what that does, though, is it helps ensure that day one for that person, should I extend an offer, they know exactly what they're walking into. They are not going to be blindsided. I see this happen all the time with folks where they show up day one and they have made 101 assumptions about what this role is, what the company is like, who they're going to work with, and everyone is so excited and so happy. They show up day one and they're like, what the hell did I just sign up for? And I think it is that misset expectation that happens that turns any plan sideways. So it doesn't matter what your 30, 60, 90 is for somebody. If they walk in day one with certain assumptions that aren't true about the business, your plan is it's gonna fall off track fast. So I would say that is the first thing that I do. The second thing I do is I make sure that I am available. Yes, people are going to talk about their onboarding plans, and I've got my 30, 60, 90 to help make sure that someone is successful and they meet the right people and they get the right training. Sure. Leaders forget that one of the most important things that you can do to ensure someone's success is make yourself available. That could be time, right? I'm giving somebody my time every day. When I hire a new person, especially if I hire a direct report, somebody that is going to report to me directly, I make sure that I'm meeting with them every single day for the first 2 weeks that they are here. I want to hear what they learned. I want to hear observations they've made, things that are going well, things that are not going well. I want to learn all about their experience those first couple weeks because that is going to be the most critical time for them. So availability. Also, make yourself available asynchronously, right? Slack, Teams, all of these things, answer their questions. Make sure that you're starting to build trust and facilitating conversations on an ongoing basis. Don't make them wait until your call to go and see how things are going. Let them know that you do have a true open door policy, which means you got off a call with somebody else or you met with the sales leader and you got a bunch of questions. Yeah, shoot them my way. Maybe I don't get to you right away, but I will get back to you. The next thing I would say that is really important besides availability that a lot of people forget is that personal connection. You have to build relationships with these people. We spend a lot of time on process and infrastructure and learning certain things. The thing that I think makes me a good leader, maybe I would even say makes me a great leader to some, are the relationships that we build, the trust we establish, and that happens day one. I want them to feel like I'm creating a safe place, that I'm providing clarity, and that I'm providing what they need to be successful. And that really comes from a place of trust, and I start to nurture that day one. So I want to make sure that they're seeing me as a reliable, credible person who is also creating a good working environment for them as a human.
Yeah, it's awesome. On the trust point, you and I, prior to the podcast, were chatting a little bit about remote work. And I'd just be curious, like, have you found that trust building is different in a remote environment?
Oh gosh, yes. You have to be so much more intentional about it, right? You don't have the ability to like drop by somebody's desk and say hi, or you want to grab a quick cup of coffee, or like we should do lunch today. You have to be so much more intentional when you're working remote. So for me, it is carving out that time, right? Cameras on, asking questions, right? I love, honestly, people forget the telephone is just as cool as Zoom. I love to like just text somebody and be like, hey, if you have 5 minutes, like let's just hop on a call, go for a walk with them, FaceTime them, right? It's just, whatever I can do to create an environment that feels not like I'm not trying to be your best friend, because I do think that there's also like a personal and professional boundary that you might want to withhold. But it's also making sure, again, going back to the point of availability, I want them to know that I'm thinking about them, that if they did something great, I want to call that out. I want to let them know that I saw that. Or if I see that they're struggling, I want to also make sure that I let them know I'm here for you. I'm going to help you. So I think those are all the ways you can show up intentionally when you're working in a digital and kind of virtual world that we are.
Yeah, that's super thoughtful. I was curious too around as you kind of get to the edge of to the finish line in the process, how you think about references prior to bringing somebody on, and if that's a big part of your process or if it's something that you discount.
I absolutely look for references. I will say I take the references that they provide with a grain of salt, because nobody's going to put their worst references on a call with a hiring
I've
manager.
had one person do that actually, but
Well, that's concerning on its own, right? Forget the fact that that's a conversation. The fact that you
that's
misread your relationship with that person, probably tells me you're not going to be really good at this role. So yes, I pay attention to the references that they are providing me, but I also make the assumption that probably for majority, clearly not all, but that they've worked with this person. They've said, hey, listen, these are the questions. Here's the role. Here's it. Like, this person has been prepped. I don't want the prepared person. So I personally love a back channel. I want to go and find somebody who you haven't prepared for this conversation. And maybe it's I shoot a friendly message to somebody who is part of your organization, somebody that was in a cross-functional team, and say, hey, listen, I might ping them on LinkedIn. Again, while your brand is so important in building that network, you have the ability to go and do this. But I love a back channel where I can get some like real insight into like unscripted, what is this person like working with on a regular basis?
Yeah, that's I absolutely agree with that. 100%. I find both to be valuable, but definitely the back channel references to be the most
Absolutely.
valuable for sure.
Right. It's all I want to know the things that you're not trying to tell me.
And then maybe who was I guess for our typical wrap up kind of question here is, who is the best hire you've ever made and why? And you can share a name, not share a name, but I would just love to hear.
This is literally like picking your favorite child. So this is criminal, this question. My career is 24 years long. Like, I could never pick a favorite. There are so many great hire. I mean, I'm like literally visualizing all of their faces and names right now. It's crazy. So I can't pick one. Out of fairness and out of respect for all the fantastic people and hires that I've made in my career. What I will say is that what's true about all of the most successful people that I have had the privilege of working alongside of, one, they were lifetime learners. These people were ones that committed to the fact that they were not experts. They didn't have all the answers. They didn't know everything. They leaned into learning constantly. They were open to it. They were coachable. They loved growth personally. So that is one thing. The second thing, they were all gritty. I've already talked about that, but these are people that are hardworking, roll up my sleeves. My job is not 9 to 5, and I know that there is work-life integration. There's not work-life balance, and they understood that. And I'm talking, I've worked with early moms, so moms that have little babies at home, multiples, young children who understand I am not demanding that they work nonstop, but I am asking that they be intentional about what they're prioritizing and when. And the last thing I would say is that these are people that just have genuine care for others. These are good humans. They are great people to work with. These are people who I look back now, these are my friends. Over the course of my career, whether I led them, I worked alongside of them. If these are people that I'm connected with on my personal social media, like on Instagram, those things, the ones that are private, not for everybody to consume, the people in my life for a lifetime, those are the names and faces that came to mind when you asked that question.
Yeah, that's great. Almost a better answer than a single hire for sure. Thank you for sharing that. This was super fun. It is so good to see you. I just want to say to people out there, if you're looking for guidance on CS best practices, just check out Kristi's LinkedIn profile. Check out all the amazing content that Kristi has on KristiFaltorusso.com. And anything else you wanted to share, Kristi?
Just that we have to remember that this is a human experience, not a candidate experience, right? When you're hiring, when you're building teams, and you're growing teams, there are people involved. And so just treat them the way that you would want to be treated. We're living through a time right now where there have been a lot of layoffs. There's a lot of people competing for the same roles. And I get it that everyone's busy, but don't forget that there are humans on the other side of this equation always. Whether you are hiring, whether you are moving people through a process, we can't forget that people aspect of it. And so just treat people with care.
Yeah, I think prescient reminder always, but like definitely right now. 100% agree.
Especially we're in the holiday season, because that's when we're recording. I know this won't be until January, but please, you got people who are trying to put presents under the tree. Be thoughtful about, how you're navigating them through this process. Just be open about the communication and transparency.
Yeah. Fantastic final reminder. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. This was a great conversation. I'm thrilled to see you again and have the chance for us to connect.
Yeah, it's really good to see you.